Thanks for staying with us on the program. Now, it's less than 48 hours to the off-cycle governorship elections in Kogi State, Imo State, as well as Bayelsa State. And situations in these three states have become more intense, with the major political parties across these three states leaving no stone unturned in their bid to capture and retain the seat of power in their state. However, all eyes are on the three states to see who will emerge as the winner of Saturday polls in these three states. But we will definitely be speaking to some of our reporters who have been on ground in this state, Kogi State, Imo, and Bayelsa State, and have been giving us updates for the past 24 hours now. Presently, we'll be joined by Chinwe Ugele, who is in Imo State, and will be giving us updates on how the elections are unfolding in the state. Hello, Chinwe. Good evening. Can you hear us?
Hello, good evening.
Hi, Chinwe. How is it like in Imo State? And you've been on ground keeping an eye on this election for a while now. Tell us, what's the mood like in Imo State? What have you been tracking and what have you observed so far? It's barely 48 hours to the election.
Yes, the mood is normal for every citizen out there on the streets. Except for people who have one or two businesses to do at the INEC office or, in this election for the politicians. But for the ordinary citizens out there, it's a normal day and people are going about their businesses. So, but right now, I'm standing in front of INEC office here in Owerri, where people are gathered right inside the premises of INEC here in Owerri. There are some people, politicians, officials who have come to put one or two things in order. Earlier this morning, we had an interview with the resident electoral commissioner in the state, Sylvia Ago, who assured that everything was being done to ensure that the process was seamless. She talked about the distribution of the materials, and we actually saw the distribution of the materials to the various local governments in the state. So, and also soldiers and policemen, security operatives are being deployed to the various local governments just to ensure that nothing is left missing for the process on Saturday.
All right, Chinwe, now the INEC has expressed worry over security. That's one sector that is usually, dotted on when time for election comes. And they've talked about the disturbances and some of the things that can lead to these insecurity or violent attacks are comments made on social media. But generally, they've expressed their worry over security. What exactly is being done in Imo State to make sure that the elections in the next 48 hours there's enough security for people going out to vote and going back to their houses?
I didn't get that very well. Can you take that again?
Definitely. Okay, let's give it another try. So I was talking about the INEC expressing worry, basically, over the security, not just in Imo State now, across board, but what is being done in Imo State to make sure that the elections in the next 48 hours are secure enough for the people?
Okay, beyond the assurances by the police and then the resident electoral commissioner concerning the beef up of security around the states, people have also expressed worries, because earlier today also we tried to get to the governor's village, and we discovered that there was a sit-at-home order being obeyed in a community leading to the governor's village, and we had to turn back. So that is part of the security issues that people are worried about and would want the people concerned, the stakeholders, to do something about before Saturday. But beyond that, everywhere seems calm right now. But then the argument is, what about the order by non-state actors who continue to make people get scared when it comes to national issues like the elections coming out on Saturday?
Okay, talking about the other by non-state actors, Chinwe, I would like to ask, you've been on ground for a while. Tell us about what's the pulse like? Tell us, what do you think the people are saying about the elections? Are we likely to see a form of voter apathy? Are people willing to come out en masse to vote? And if not, what would you think will be contributing to a likely voter apathy? But aside from the violence that you say people may be worried about.
Well, voter apathy, yes, it is going to be present, especially in those localities where insecurity is on the high. But in the state capital and some other communities that do not have such cases, people are going to come out to vote. But those areas where there are concerns of security, there's going to be voter apathy. Beyond security issues, there's also the fear of the result of the election not reflecting the choices of the people. So those are the two things that will affect the elections, whether people would come out to vote or not. But then most of the people are eager to come and vote. Those who want to make a change, those who want to sustain what is on ground are all eager to come vote on Saturday.
All right, Chinwe, let's quickly talk about the electoral body in itself now, the Independent National Electoral Body of Nigeria. Let's not forget what happened at the presidential election, and let's not pretend like people have healed from the seeming distrust that was created from that whole process. So in terms of preparedness, how prepared would we say that the INEC is for these off-cycle elections? And what is the level of trust that the people of Imo State have in the electoral process, especially with the fact that INEC is the one in charge?
It's only INEC that is the umpire we have in Nigeria, so it will always be the one to conduct our elections. So concerning Imo State's elections over the years, it's always been like this. There's always been tension as to who is going to become the next governor of the state, what is it going to be like, and the manner the incumbent governor came on board. So people have not yet come to terms with such situations, and there are worries as to what the outcome of this election is going to be. So if it's going to be a reflection of what people want, if it's going to maybe change the mindset of some people who have their grievances concerning the last election that was held here some 4 years ago. So, but basically, it's always been like that in Imo State for their elections. There will always be agitations. There'll be tension, in the land. But at the end of the day, there's usually on the election day, there's usually not much, violence noticed in the field. That's how Imo elections have always been over time.
All right, Chinwe, thank you so much for that update. We really hope that we are going to experience zero violence on the election day. So hold your thought there. We're coming right back to you. Let's quickly go on a short break, and then when we come back to you, give us more updates on what to expect for Imo elections.
Thanks for staying with us on the program. We're still talking about the upcoming elections in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo, where we have our correspondents on standby. Before we went on a short break, we had Chinwe Ugele, who is giving us updates from Imo State, and we still have her here. Chinwe, thank you so much for staying with us. First, let me ask you, I hope that this whole thing is not taking a toll on you personally.
Can you take that again?
I'm just asking about your own, personal, you seem tired. Adesewa was just saying that you look tired. So I hope it's not affecting you, the whole running around and trying to gather updates and information for us.
Oh, well, it's been a long day. Albert and I haven't had anything since morning. So we've been on the road. So basically, I'm tired. I'm exhausted, but then the job has to be done, and it has to be done by someone. Incidentally, right now, it's by me and it's by Albert. So, but it's fine. We'll be fine after the whole job is done today.
Apologies for that. Okay, talking about the elections now, Chinwe, what do you think will determine the outcomes of the election? I know it's too soon to tell and it's even too close to call, but do you think that the power of incumbency will play any role? Do you think godfatherism will play any role? What do you think will determine the outcomes of the elections?
Well, just like you said, no one can call right now it's still early in the day because we still have some hours, a day and, to the election. But then what will be the outcome of the election from what I see is that somebody will emerge as the governor of the state. Who will, I do not know. It is left for the electorate to decide on who they want at that government house here in Owerri. So the outcome of the election, from what I also see, is such that that will take care of the trouble that we've been having for some time now in the state, and give peace to the people, because the people of the state, especially some of those local government areas, they really need to have calm in their communities. So that is what everybody is hoping, that after this election, that peace will return to Imo State in general.
All right, Chinwe, let's talk about the political candidates involved. There's a headline here that says that Lamidia Papa's faction suffers a setback in a bid to stop the Labour Party's candidates for the Imo State election. This is according to a court ruling. Can you bring us up to speed on that? What is going on in the Labour Party and their candidacy?
From what I know, their candidates in the Labour Party has remained Achono, Neja Achono. So it hasn't changed. So if there's any faction having any issue, that is the name that INEC has published on their website as the candidate for Labour Party. So so far there has not been any change, and nobody has said anything concerning that in Labour Party. And I also learned that there was a mega rally 2 days ago for Labour Party, which saw the presence of Peter Obi in the state.
All right. Now, Chinwe, one other thing to pay attention to most times when election matters arise is the issue of social media, like I did mention earlier. A lot of times during these periods, we have a lot of misinformation, disinformation. We saw that play out a lot in the presidential election. Is there anything being done by the government? I know in terms of when times like this arise, the government puts out a disclaimer or a warning saying that people should be careful of the kind of information that they consume. But because of the excitement and eagerness of a lot of people, they tend to say things that are not true sometimes, falsify news and all that. What is being done, in that regard?
Get that at all. I didn't get that at all. It was
all right, I'll give it another try, Chinwe. So I was just talking about social media and the kind of news they carry. These days we have a lot of citizen journalists, independent journalists that want to spread false news, whether or not it's true. So in this day and time when we struggle with a lot of misinformation and disinformation, a lot of people saying this is the person that will win when it doesn't look like it, this is the person that won't win when it looks like it. What exactly is being done, especially in Imo State, to address that? Has the government put out any warning? Has anything been done about that?
None that I know of, but then you know what social media is all about. People will always, make noises, make their opinions heard and known. So it's about choices. People have made their choices already. So it's not as if anybody is going to the polling unit not knowing who he or she is going to vote for. So whatever they put out there in the social media is what's going to reflect at the polling unit. So I spoke to some people who also expressed concerns concerning what the outcome of the election might be. So will it represent what they want? But then the social media is a place where everybody is free. It's like the democracy of journalism. That's what I call what social media is to me. So people will always express, and they have been expressing themselves, talking about what's going on, the insecurity, the apathy that you may notice. But then there's one thing about this election. There are some polling units that INEC has tagged 0 polling units because there are no people registered in those polling units. There are about 38 of them, 38 polling units from 13 local government areas in Imo State, out of the 27 local government areas. So there will not be any results coming out from those polling units. So all of these will, are the things that people talk about when they go to social media. Why were there not people registered for polling units that were created, for the state? And, what the government has done so far to put the insecurity we have in the state to rest, and the INEC's preparation at the same time. So everything put together, is out there in the social media, not even the conventional media. The social media is doing everything to make sure that there's no single thing, there's no single item that comes out of the state that does not hit the social media.
All right, Chinwe, let's talk about the sitting governor, Governor Hope Uzodinma, who is also seeking re-election in Imo State. Do you think he stands a bigger chance of winning the election compared to his antecedents? Look, let's look at the whispers on ground with what people have been saying. Do you think that he's winning the people's heart? Maybe let's say for a second time, bearing in mind the controversy that brought him into power.
Well, as an incumbent, he has the influence, He has also an upper hand, if you would say that. He has an upper hand to get some things done to his favor. But then there are also other candidates, So likely it might go his way. But what people are looking at is, even if it goes, because it's a real contest that they are going to have here. Even though there are 17 candidates for the election in the state, there are just 3 major candidates, that of the PDP, Labour Party, and himself of the APC. So the election is among the 3 of them, as it were, not, underrating the rest of the candidates. But then these are the 3 people that people are looking out for. So if there's a free and fair election at the polls today, there will be a slim margin. That is what people, those who are not politically inclined, those who do not have, who do not belong to any political parties, that is what they believe, and that is what they look out to see after the Saturday's election in the results that will be announced, whereby the winner of the election will just use a slim margin to defeat the rest of them that have gone into the election.
All right, Chinwe, talking about a slim margin, we all know what birthed off-cycle elections in the first place, right? Maybe because the elections didn't go as planned, somebody won, it was displaced and things like that. Are there any criteria that will determine the governorship, like that will determine the winner, or is it plain as day, the person with the highest votes takes it all? So we know now, so as to prevent any more, furtherance of the elections.
Before now, it was the highest number of votes, someone with the highest number of votes. And then if people decide to challenge the election at the court, at the tribunal, so the court may use technical issues, to kick out someone, just like it was 4 years ago here, concerning between Hope and the other people who were in that election, when what's his name, Emeka Ihedioha was the governor of the state at the time, who was declared winner. Remember that Hope came on board after the tribunal, after the court affirmed that he actually won the election, that he had the highest number of votes, but the votes were illegally or illegitimately, removed from his votes. So, and that brought him in. So this time around, from the verdicts that have been given across states concerning election petitions, we see situations whereby they're not paying too much attention to technical issues. They tell you some issues are pre-election matters. So now it has to be you win at the ballots, and with the number of margins that is expected of you to win that election, so that it doesn't appear like the margin of lead is not enough to call the shots for whoever becomes the winner of that election.
Okay, so let's examine the youth participation in this election. We saw that play out in the presidential polls, where it looks as though the youth suddenly woke up to reality, saying that they want to be a part of the electoral process. Are we seeing the youth in Imo State doing the same, taking the same toll of you, saying that we want to be a part of this? Are they active? Do we have an active participation in the electoral process?
I think they do, because I saw quite a number of them this morning out there, trying to monitor the processes and all the rest of it. And then when I looked at the INEC flyer that was given to me, I saw the number of observer groups that have come to, monitor this election. Over 100 observer groups monitoring the election in Imo State, local observer groups, and then you have the foreign observer groups that are 8 in number. Now, who are the people who make up these domestic observer groups? Mostly youth, mostly women, you know, and even the aged are there too. But then the makeup of these observer groups are mostly young people who want to be part of the process of selecting who becomes their leader after Saturday.
All right, Chinwe, let's also talk about one of the things that led to the president of the off-cycle elections. Remember what happened in Anambra State, where Chris Ngige won governorship, a PDP candidate, and then Peter Obi, then a candidate of the ABGA, went to court to challenge it. Now, comparing that with what happened with the presidential election, with the whole dragging back and forth, the fake certificate and all whatnot, a lot of people seem to have also lost faith, not just in the INEC now, but also in the judiciary, saying that the judiciary is throwing out facts and then, basing their judgment on sentiment and all whatnot. Do you think that there will be enough trust in the judicial process? Now, I'm not saying that the elections will be so tight that we can decide who will win, but if eventually that happens, do you think that people will be so confident enough to take up the issue in court this time around?
Well, this time around, for me, it's not about confidence anymore. I think it's now about your last option. What more options do they have if the tribunal has, if the electoral umpire has announced the result or announces the result? What more do you do? Do you take fights to the streets? No, you go to the court. You approach the court, and in this case, the tribunal. So you still have to, whether you have confidence in the tribunal or not. I think what the Nigerian citizens are doing right now, those who are involved in the electoral petitions are doing right now, is to just make use of the opportunity they have to make sure that they explore all avenues to see if there's any possibility of correcting what they see as an anomaly.
All right, Chinwe, thank you so much for the clarification so far. Please still stay with us. Hold that thought. We want to go on a short break. When we come back, we'll definitely get more information from you regarding the Imo State upcoming elections.